All right, we got the countdown timer going. We are just about ready to go live. I see that we have a couple of folks waiting for us in the waiting room. So let's go ahead. Hey, Coleman.
Hi, Eric.
Happy hour.
I'm excited to be here on Happy Hour.
Yeah, I'm letting you in a minute early. You don't mind, do you?
No, I was just sitting here watching you fuss about.
Could you see me fussing about?
Yes.
You could. Okay.
You were live and in person.
What's that?
You were live and in person.
Live and in person. Good deal. I'm still getting my feet wet on this whole restream thing. So another couple months, I'll probably have it figured out. Maybe I need to do these more than once a month.
Well,
So
far,
it's all good.
Going down.
Yeah. So we got a minute to go. I'm excited. I'm hoping that last month wasn't just beginner's luck, and the vibe that we get for this month's happy hour is going to be just as good. So I think it'll be cool. So I've been on the road. I'll talk about this when we officially get things started, but had probably one of my longest road stints in a while. So it's good to be home. Got to do a little snow blowing. Gonna get out on the snowmobile this weekend. I'm pretty excited about that.
Good for you.
Yeah, I know. People that live in the South are like, you can have all that snow. I'm not interested in it.
So that's my line, Eric. I sold my snowblower 10 years ago, and I've never bought another.
Never look back. Never look back. So I don't blame you.
We had a snow here in Texas, what I would have classified as a leaf blower snow, where you get the leaf blower out to clean your driveway.
Yeah.
And the place pretty much shut down.
Too funny. So, hey, Rebecca, good to see you too. Thanks for joining. So, one thing that I will mention, this is obviously being recorded. So if anybody is interested in jumping on the live part of what we're doing, and I see Martha waiting in the wings, rocking the pink, I might add. We all know when someone colorful shows up, it's going to be Martha. So welcome. But I just want to do a quick little, if you are interested, and look at me getting all fancy with my screens and stuff like that here on Restream. But if you're interested in joining Coleman and Martha and myself, and you are on LinkedIn or you are finding me, I think I've got this going on my personal Facebook profile and also on, I think, our LinkedBanker YouTube channel. So if you're watching there, welcome. Feel free. I think if you make a comment, we'll be able to see that in the comments. But if you are interested in coming on live and having a conversation with us and chatting and joining the discussion, visit thelinkedbanker.com/happy hour. And that'll get you to our happy hour page, or just go to thelinkedbanker.com. And over here, you've got happy hour. If you scroll down, you can click on join us live. That takes you here. This section right here allows for you to click the link that opens the restream and allows for you to join us on the show. So you can come over and actually be with us. And I see Holly is coming up as well. Although the camera doesn't seem to be working, Holly. I don't see you, but I see that you're coming on. So, but I think we can have 10 people on with us live, which would be a good problem to have if we had that many people that wanted to come up on stage and have a chit chat. I hear some noises going on, so maybe Holly's trying to connect. But welcome to the LinkedBanker Happy Hour. This is the second month that we are without LinkedIn's audio events feature. They discontinued that. And I was really sad until we had our January happy hour and I did it on Restream and we had people coming up on stage and I could see your lovely faces and we were having conversations and it was freaking amazing. And I said to myself, okay, I was wrong. The live events are so much better. And I'm really excited that we're going to continue these and make them a regular thing. So they get recorded, they're available. You can go back and relive them. And just really excited to be here. So For those of you that are watching that maybe have never been on a happy hour, welcome. These are brought to you by the LinkedBanker and probably a little bit by WSI, the two companies that I get a chance to run. And I created these just to provide an opportunity for banker friends of banking, ex-bankers, bank vendors, people that just like talking about banking or maybe technology, to get together and chat. There's no agenda. There's no PowerPoint slides. There's no schedule. I've got a handful of things jotted down that I can talk about if we run out of things to say, but that's never been a problem. We just are here to chat, boast, brag, commiserate, whatever you want to talk about. And we spend the hour, and like most months when we do these happy hours, 60 minutes is up before we know it. So Coleman, Martha, thanks for coming on stage. Again, if anybody wants to join, just go to linkbanker.com/happy hour, scroll down, hit the button on the left for join the conversation, and we'll see you in the background, and you can come up and join us. So with that quote unquote housekeeping out of the way, Coleman and Martha, welcome. Coleman, you've been here before. Martha, we didn't get to see you last month, but I'm so excited that you're joining us in February, and all of your colors, they always remind me of Valentine's Day anyway. So it's appropriate that you're here for February.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, yeah. So what's on your guys' mind? What do you guys want to talk about? Anything that has come up over the last month or week or day or whatever that you'd like to use as a spark for our discussion to get the ball rolling?
Okay. Hey, well, before we start a discussion, I want to give you a shout out, Eric. So in case everybody has not heard of your big award, maybe you could share that with us.
I would be happy to, and thank you for saying something. So I and my wife were recently in Las Vegas at Mandalay Bay for the International Franchise Awards, the Franchise Association, IFA. A lot of people don't realize this, but WSI, which is our digital agency that we run, is a global franchise. And I became a franchisee in 2007 when I left the world of banking and became part of the WSI family. And last year we had the honor of winning Agency of the Year with WSI at our WSI Global Convention. And I got a phone call from Cheryl, our marketing director in Toronto, and she said, "Hey, we've never done this before, but we want to submit your name to the IFA for Franchisee of the Year." And I was floored and shocked and humbled that they would even think to nominate me. I said, "What does it mean?" She goes, "I'm not really sure, but all I know is you have to be in Las Vegas to get the award. Are you available on February 10th? I said, "I can be." And lo and behold, I was selected as one of about, I think, 118 IFA Franchisee of the Year award recipients this year. And so we were all in Las Vegas kicking off their global convention, with, like, literally, if you think of a franchise, they were there and represented. And it's a pretty big deal because there's a lot of franchises out there. And yeah, so I got 2024. I was a Franchisee of the Year award recipient. First time in WSI's 30-year history that they've nominated somebody, and I got it. So I was pretty excited and humbled, and it's been a whirlwind couple of weeks of travel, but that was a midpoint pit stop, and Alicia flew out to see me and was there, and it was so nice to have her with me as well. So it was really cool. So thank you for mentioning that and indulging me on the story. But we've got an amazing team. We have amazing clients, and I love my WSI family, and they inspire me all the time to do great things, and I learn from them. So that's what I love about being part of the WSI family. And I don't really think of it as a franchise, but it is, and it's a really powerful thing. So pretty cool. And thanks again for asking. So yeah, there you go. So with that little boast, normally, now, if this were Rotary back in my banking days, I would probably have to pay at least a $5 brag fee on that one and take that to the pot, but I got to do that for free. So we don't charge anybody for boast or brags here on our happy hours. So there you go. But cool. So with that being said, maybe back to you now that you've called me out on the award. Anything else going on in your world, Martha, that you want to talk about?
Well, I didn't really mean to set it up that way, but I will do a little boast and brag on myself.
You go for it,
Um,
girl.
my new book,
Oh,
Yes.
don't just brand there, do something.
nice.
I got my hard copies yesterday, and they will be live for sale. They're on Amazon right now. There are other places, but you can't buy them yet until March 11.
I'll make sure you get my address because I would like an autographed copy to go right next to this one, if you don't mind.
I will send you one, of course.
So very cool. Well, that's amazing. How long had that book been in process? A lot of people that have written books. I've been a contributing author to 3 books, and that just means I wrote a chapter, and that was a lot of work. I've wanted to write a book, but I've not gotten to that point. How long did it take you to write the second one? Was it easier? Was it harder because now you knew what you didn't do right the first time and you had to spend more? Talk to me a little bit about that.
It was in some ways easier and in some ways harder. I'd been thinking about this for a long time. And I create structure for myself. I typically have my No Martha Mondays, and those are the days where I create content, I write, I think about things like that. So at least I already had some kind of schedule in place where I was going to work on this book. I don't know whether the lengthiest time was actually creating the content or looking at it afterwards and going back and forth with the interior designer of the pages and getting it just the way I wanted. And then I'd read it again and I'd think, oh no, I need to edit this some more. So I don't know. How long did it take? Probably about 9 months.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be faster, but
you thought it was going to be faster? Yeah. And the next question, when's the movie coming out?
the movie. Oh, I hadn't thought of that.
And which movie star is playing you? That's what I want to know. Who would you select to play you in your book?
That's dangerous ground there. I don't know.
You're not going to answer, are you?
No, I'm not.
Well, I've been told Obadiah Stone or Sloan or whatever the dude's name is from Iron Man. Is it Jeff Daniels that plays the bad guy? There's a couple of LinkedIn side by sides of him when he was dressed up as Obadiah before he went evil and fought Iron Man, that people thought that maybe he would be a good body double for me. So anyway, but not that anybody's making a movie about me. So it just a little nugget of info there. So, well, that's cool. I'm excited for you, and I can't wait to check out your second book. And then maybe we could bring you over to our Bankers Book Club podcast, and we could have the 4 of us over at the Bankers Book Club check it out and do a review, and maybe you could be a guest on that podcast. That'd be kind of fun.
That'd be fun. I would love that.
Yeah. Excellent. Cool. Good deal. So we've got a new face. Stacy, I don't believe I've seen you on a happy hour. I have not seen a lot of people because the last happy hour was the first one that we could actually see people. Everything else is just voice only. But welcome to the LinkedBanker Happy Hour. What brings you by?
So, first off, I appreciate you, hosting such an informative, call. But Martha's actually the one who wrangled me in.
Nice.
Yeah.
There you go. You're her +1 then, huh?
I guess. Yeah. Sometimes you just get a bone thrown and she happened to be the one throwing it. So I appreciate it.
Cool. Good. Well, I don't remember when you actually popped in, but these no script, no set agenda. So whatever you feel like talking about, anything on your mind. We've had interesting conversations, as Coleman can attest, on a lot of different things I think I've been doing these for maybe now a couple of years. But previous ones weren't recorded because that just wasn't a feature that was available on the audio events on LinkedIn. So excited that. So I don't know if there's anything rattling around in your brain that you want to toss out for a discussion topic and have some dialogue around, or
tell us about the green zone.
I'm sure that whatever I throw out has probably been covered. So, it
hasn't been covered. All we talked about was franchising and Martha's new book. So it's a pretty clean slate after that.
There you go. There you go. No, Green Zone is, really a company I developed. The name is actually a military term, um, really a designation for a safe place during a
Sure.
time of chaos. Um, but I've been in commercial lending and private market lending for 23 years before launching Green Zone.
Okay.
And Green Zone being Green Zone Capital Advisors. I'm not a loan broker. I actually recognize an incredible opportunity, and anybody in lending and banking knows this, that there's a tremendous amount of disconnect between what the expectations of what bankers expect business owners and their financial reporting to look like and what they actually see from the business owner. So this really started off as a way for me to kind of bridge that and provide a way for me to better help prepare the companies for financing. And what that's blossomed into just in a year and a half of doing this is that business owners and CFOs have come to realize that they're spending a lot of time going back and forth with their lender and have begun seeing the ROI and the time, the stress, and the resources that are being dedicated to that. So I've been managing commercial lending relationships for the companies. If you think of somebody who is a banker and then just flips over to the client side, that's really what I'm doing, and know how to navigate that the right way.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah,
So could I go so far as to refer to you as also a recovering banker like myself?
that's right. That's right. Recovering banker, recovering lender. Um, you know, I hope I'm never a recovering business owner because this is going very well
Yeah, that's
and
awesome.
truly been just an eye-opening experience.
Cool. Good.
Yeah,
Good.
it's a lot of
Well,
fun.
one of the awesome things, even before we went and were able to do audio or video like this, is there have been examples, and I've seen it firsthand because people have reached out to me where people hearing someone in the audience may hear what you say and go, I need to get a hold of Stacy. And, next thing you know, you're getting an invite in your LinkedIn and there's a connection. And that's kind of really what this is all about. So hopefully, I don't want to go so far as to do the Chuck Willery love connection thing, but maybe a business connection is something that can come out of this
Yeah.
for you. So that'd be,
Oh, I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and again, thank you for the opportunity. This is
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun.
Yep.
Anytime I get a chance to talk about banking and lending, I always think it's a good time.
Yeah.
Most times.
Yep. Well, from our perspective, and Martha, I don't know what you're seeing at your agency, but we're starting to see our clients and the banks we're talking to getting a little bit more excited about advertising their loan products. And last year they kind of sat on the sidelines. There was a lot of talk about deposits. Not a lot of community banks have got a really effective online deposit origination platform that they're happy with. And so it's kind of difficult to convert those, but I think the lending side of things has done a pretty decent job. I will throw out there, in case any of the lending platforms are listening, it would be wonderful if we could figure out a way to get attribution in your platform so that we could be able to track that origination link all the way through to close and be able to tie that back to determine what worked and what generated the loan. So please work on that for all of us in digital marketing so that we can help our clients better measure their spend. But we're getting more of our bank customers wanting to jump back into the mortgage market and promote and advertise. I think they're feeling that things are going to go in the right direction. There's going to maybe be a couple of rate cuts coming up, and that mortgage activity, loan activity is going to be something that they're going to want to take advantage of. So I see some heads nodding, which is cool. I don't know, Martha or Stacy, if you guys can confirm on that. But what do you think?
Go ahead, Martha.
Yes, I would agree with that. I think there's a lot of optimism there and a lot of people thinking about what are they doing next. And I see here, Neil dropped something in the chat. But Neil, we can't hear you, right? You can only chat us.
Yep. So Neil, if you want to come on and join us, hop over to the linkbanker.com/happy hour. And if you go there, click on that link, and that will give you the ability to come on. He is, I think, teeing up another topic of conversation after this about a Gen FM podcast that I originated on one of his posts, and maybe that might be a little bit more technology. So anyway, but back
Neil
to the
always
show.
makes me feel a lot smarter, so I figured he'd have something good to contribute.
That is true. But he did say, rate cuts, January inflation went up and unemployment went down. And then he's going to hop on in a second. So I would agree with you. Neil has a brain that works at a different level. And we talked about this actually last month, where he shared a DM with me on one of his CD products, and I had a really hard time getting my head around it. He's like, come on, man, you're a smart guy, you can figure this out. And I was like, I've got my brain wrapped around artificial intelligence and click rates and the impact of AI and SEO. I'm having a hard time re-engaging the banker brain again. So I'll maybe have him come on and explain that. And then we can maybe talk a little bit about the Gen FM from 11 Labs as well. But Stacy, or maybe Coleman, any thoughts on the appetite for loans going into the remainder of 25? Where do you guys see that going?
Well, personally, I see everybody's wanting to grow their balance sheets on both sides, the assets and the liabilities. And certainly, I'm seeing a lot more financial institutions that are on the high side of the loan to deposit ratio, and they're looking on the other side of the balance sheet. But I'm gearing up for all the various conferences. I got to go to the big credit union conference down in DC, and then the ICBA out in Nashville, et cetera. So it'll be interesting to get the perspective of the people who are attending the show when it comes to that. What I am seeing is a lot of financial institutions that specialize in a certain niche. Maybe they have a big medical practice in terms of their loan portfolio, or a big, commercial real estate or something. So there seems to be a little bit more specialization on the commercial side of things. Most everyone's moved away from consumer lending, other than the mortgage business, which may or may not be coming back in terms of that, is what I see and hear.
Yeah. So, Stacy,
I'll tell you so from my perspective, there's a couple of things. When we talk about technology, there's a company here in Kansas City called Cypher AI.com. It's CYPHR AI.com. That's a new platform that is being slowly released and is beginning to, when you talk about marketing and being able to track the kind of that whole progression of where that lead come from, and be able to move that back kind of after the loan close, whether you book the loan or not, what was the identifying characteristics of that loan, and be able to trace essentially where those leads come from, but also manage the entire application process. So this is both for commercial, and I think they're going to release something on mortgages, but don't hold me to that.
Okay.
The other thing that I wanted to throw out there that's really interesting, there's $1.6 trillion in private market lending right now that's available, and only 500 billion of it is committed. What that means is that if somebody goes to the bank for a commercial loan right now, and we're going to call it a company that's probably got 10 million or more in revenue, and they are looking for options, the bank is obviously going to present, a proposal. It's going to come with some loan covenants, financial performance covenants, things like that. And what is about to happen and is happening right now is that business owners recognize that they're willing to give up 1% or 2% to go to the private market lending side to be able to have those covenants taken away, or a majority of them gone or lessened. This is what's really interesting when we think about banking. And as a banker, we've all been told business owners go to banks to get loans, and nobody talks about what happens when the company is told no. And nobody really talks about what happens to the competition out there when it comes to banking. And now that rates have gone up, even though we expect to see a rate cut at some point this year, personally, I don't think it's going to come till June. But we are definitely in a situation where banks will begin to see competition from the private lending market.
Interesting.
So that means they're going to have to really step up the marketing.
You're right.
Nice
Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't know if you see this as related or if it's a tangent, but there's been an awful lot of talk about buy now, pay later services from whether that's impacting the credit card business or the debit card activity. And, people are preferring to put it on. But Ron Shevlin just over at Cornerstone released his What's Going On in Banking report for 25 and had a number of mentions in that, and has been talking about buy now, pay later becoming more and more of a thing. I know Quillo was a platform for a while, was really focused on trying to penetrate the community bank. And now I think they're more of a kind of a lending marketplace, but you've got Klarna making big deals. I think they just struck a deal with Chase, if I read that correctly. But any thoughts on buy now, pay later, or what you know about it? Or if you want to maybe explain it a little bit more detail for anybody that's joining us that might not be that familiar with it. I don't know if that's something in your wheelhouse that you follow.
You talking to me?
Anybody. I'd start with you, but
it's been around for a long time, right?
Yeah. Kmart.
We've seen it at furniture stores forever, right?
Absolutely.
Where you get 10 months or 12 months same as cash, right? Anything that said same as cash is essentially the initial buy now, pay later model. We saw a massive increase of these types of buy now, pay later, but it was all more of a kind of a check and go type of situation. There wasn't a lot of technology wrapped around it. And really, we saw it really spike up between 2005 and 2009. And then for a few years, we didn't see it very much. And now we're beginning to see a lot of it, not just with technology, but it's really coming out and really pushing. And I think it's because a lot of the consumers have now began to make large purchases based off of what they can afford for monthly payments versus being able to write a check. And I think in the next couple of years, we're probably going to see another bubble-ish type of thing happen, probably 2029, 2030, according to several economists.
Yep. Interesting.
I have a small account with a little credit union, and they're offering it like daily. And then my main account with Chase, and they're offering it every day. So I'm it's coming from everywhere, no matter where you're banking at.
That's right.
It seems like everyone's giving you that offer. Even Amazon gives you that on every single thing you buy, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
there's if you want to burn 60 seconds of time, you'll never get back, but it's absolutely hilarious. There's a famous Kmart was known for Christmas layaway and talking about how they would ship things. And they've got a really, really good commercial that they ran for a while about how you could ship various things and how they just shipped my pants or I just shipped my bed.
I saw that.
It's absolutely hilarious. You listen to it the first couple of times and you're like, did they just say that on television? But then you realize that they're just talking about shipping. But they uniquely picked each one of those in a way that the word ship could be transposed with something else. And that's about as far as I'm going to go with that. And deep down inside, I'm a 12-year-old boy, and I could probably go pretty deep with that. Neil knows me. He's laughing. He's waiting for me to dig a hole and see if I can get myself out of it. I know he is. So
great to see you all.
Absolutely. So, but anyway, yeah, I think buy now, pay later is something. I don't know from a community bank perspective what the options are there. I don't see, like I said, Quillo was one that I know was a big proponent for, doing something in that space, but now that they've pulled back, I don't know what the options are. So, and Coleman, I see you've got maybe bug out a little early. Anything you want to say before you go?
No, just thank you to everybody.
Yeah. Well, hopefully folks will get a chance to see you at some upcoming events. Sounds like you got some travels going on, and you can make some.
They send me because I look like all the bankers.
At least you didn't say because you got a face for radio, because I would have argued with that.
I'm sorry, Neil.
Are you going to be in Phoenix next week? Will I see you there?
Phoenix is
ABA.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Okay.
Yeah. Is that the community banking conference?
Community banking. Yep.
Yeah. I saw a bank CEO in Traverse City heading out there. Actually, I was coming back from Kansas, and she was like, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, "What are you doing here?" So, as always, Coleman, thanks for joining, man. We'll see you next month, if not before.
Okay.
Take care. See ya. So I don't know what community banks are going to do. I don't know if that is something that the core providers are going to offer. I don't know if it's a service that some of the lending platforms are going to come in and supplement. But as that continues to gain steam and momentum, the Klarnas and the Afterpays, they're not going to want to do onesie twosies with little $750 million community banks. They're going to go after the big dogs where they can get scale. And is that going to leave community banks out in the cold and unable to participate? So I don't know. Any thoughts on that, or do we just kind of gently move on to the next topic and hope nobody remembers that I said that out loud?
I don't have a strong opinion.
So I think that would be the sign to move on to the next one. So the man with the brains has arrived, as we have said. You probably have heard us talking about you, Neil, but you posted the Gen FM, but we were also talking a little bit about interest rates and mortgage stuff. So I don't know if you had a thought on that, or if we want to just jump right into 11 Labs and the reader and what I suspect might be one of your new favorite little toys and gadgets and little AI tools that I got the chance to introduce you to recently.
Yeah, I always learn something from you. And, given that we were on before, I just thought to myself, this just popped up. I knew nothing about it. And we published an article. It was in the Financial Brand. And I think most people might read it. Eric says, no, I don't read it. I have a podcast produced for it. I go, what? And he posts this podcast. It's 4 minutes long, and it's 2 voices. And I'm like, how do you do that? And he said, well, it's easy. And that's what I learned from Eric and it was just this last week. So I was hoping you would tell us a little more about it. I've learned a little bit about it too, but
absolutely. Yeah. Cool. So you guys know me. I love my gadgets and my gizmos. I was on the road in Nebraska and in Wisconsin and in Kansas, in between my Vegas trips, doing AI talks. And I was wearing my Meta Ray-Ban AI glasses. I had my Plod Note, taking notes and transcribing and turning them into output for me. And I had my Rabbit R1 orange little, AI device. So I was, the little circus monkey. Somebody was the organ grinder, and I was showing off all my little things. But one of the apps that I absolutely love in all of my travels, and it's not that I don't like to read, it's just I'm sometimes in an area where reading is just not doable. But I'm always trying to consume information, as I'm sure most of you are. 11 Labs, which is a platform that does AI generation and audio creation, so you can actually you got a little feedback. One of the apps that I absolutely love in all of my travels. All right, we're going to go ahead and mute Michael for a hot minute. We were getting some feedback on his mic. But I use 11 Labs, and they've got a free app in the App Store that you can download. It's called the 11 Labs Reader. And what that reader does is it allows for you to take a hyperlink to an article that you want to read, like Neil's awesome article. And you can put it in and you can either copy and paste a block of text. You can upload a PDF. You can give it a hyperlink and it'll go and actually grab the content and it'll pull it in. It will read it to you verbatim. So you can just use it as almost like an accessibility tool where it will read information back to you. But the thing that I really like about it, much like Notebook LM, which I think I talked about last month, is it has a service called Gen FM, where it creates a podcast with two hosts that talk about the article that you've just uploaded. And that was the article that I posted back to Neil. And I said, hey, I didn't have time to read this, but I'm curious. And I did it more as an experiment because as the author of that article, obviously Neil knew exactly what the mission and the goal and the objective of his article was for somebody to take away. And so I was curious whether or not the artificial intelligence technology and the Gen FM capability of creating a podcast between two hosts actually nailed it, or did it hallucinate and just make stuff up? And I didn't know whether Neil was going to be like, yeah, these two guys are on crack. I don't know what they're talking about. That's not what I meant. And that's not my article. Or what actually happened was, I think your response was, that's spot on. What is this tool? And so I was able to share it with you. And then I took the link. Once you generate one of those, you have the ability to create a link that you can then share and other people can actually experience that. And so I don't think it's a replacement for a legitimate podcast. I don't think it's something that you would want to put up in lieu of actually creating good content, but it's another option if you're producing long form content to be able to give your readers the ability to consume that information in a slightly different way. I will tell you, for all of our blog posts on our WSI website, we are using the 11 Labs tool. We go to the website, we provide the transcript of what we wrote, and it generates a audio version of that. So now when somebody goes to our website, they can either read the article or they can click the play button and they can listen to the article. So we're incorporating that, and they've got a free player that embeds really, really easily. It's mobile responsive and easy to use that you can use if you're creating content on your website. And we're starting to do that for some of our clients as well, which is pretty cool. So I feel like 11 Labs should put me on payroll or give me a commission for hawking their goods. But it's pretty awesome. So anybody else played with it? Anybody heard of it before? Anybody going to go out and make sure that you download it and play with it? I think it's pretty awesome. I was actually trying to figure out if there was the ability to do it on the desktop, and I didn't see where that was doable. I think it's a mobile app only, but it's really intuitive. You just use the app. There's a big button down at the bottom where you just click on the plus, and then it says, do you have a URL? Do you want to copy text? Do you have a upload? You just give it the URL and boom. If you're just having it read the article back to you, you're going to have that playing in probably 5 or 10 seconds. Yeah. If it generates the podcast with the Gen FM tool where it's creating the two hosts, then that's going to take a little bit longer. But to their credit, they've kind of funked it up a little bit where there's a couple of like orbs that swing around and they've got some funky music playing in the background, and it says, we're getting the mics ready, we're brewing the coffee, so even though it's just processing, it makes you feel like the hosts are getting ready for the show, which is actually kind of a cool feeling. And it doesn't make the wait seem as unbearable as, just sitting there watching a status bar tick, 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 tick across the screen.
Well, so, I'll just weigh in on this. When I listened to it, they said some things in the podcast like, I should have said that, because that's really the message that I was trying to get. That's the essence of it. And sometimes when I work with bankers, I have to be careful that I don't sound condescending or that I'm putting them down because they're not up to speed. And so they said something in the podcast about, banking is kind of like watching paint dry. It's been around forever. But yet there are new things. And this redeemable CD is a new idea, and you can get paid bonuses. And the way the the AI put it together and had one voice and then the other voice, like they were learning from each other. I really liked it. Now, you did say something about hallucination. It wasn't an hallucination, but if you listen carefully, it says, well, what if the interest rate goes from 5.2% to 5.2%? Like, dot? So it's technically correct.
A point is way less than a dot. So if it goes to 5.2, then you're really making some money. Then you're really making some money.
There were a couple of things like that like maybe you won't just turn it over to them forever, but
yeah,
I thought it was really, it definitely enhanced the experience. And I think that's really what you're going for.
That's cool. Well, and you sparked a thought. What if, let me throw this out at you, and I don't know if you're going to try this or maybe you've thought of this. What if you were to take your like draft, you're done. You're like, all right, I'm ready to publish this. I'm going to stick it on LinkedIn, see what people think. What if you were to take that and upload it into the 11 Lab reader and have it run one of those audios to see if it comes up with anything, and then go back and go, maybe I could weave that almost as having, your wife, like I do oftentimes, read it and go, you might want to read it, maybe say it a little differently or something a little different, and have that podcast go through and then use that as almost feedback to say, you know what, I could probably explain that a little bit better. And the next thing you know, you've made maybe 3 or 4 little minor tweaks that might be some pretty good tweaks based off of the conversation that these 2 AI agents, podcast hosts, had on your original article.
Well, that is the issue, isn't it?
They could be your editorial team.
Yeah, as people who design things, we know exactly what we're going for. But a lot of times we're going to the straight shot. As a scientist, this is what I need to do. But yet our audience is full of people who they don't have our paradigm.
Yeah.
So if you don't have the paradigm, well, what's that sound like? And I think the AI has the ability to say, oh, for somebody who is a high I on the disc profile, or for somebody who is an high S on the disc profile, or the high C, what would they think of it? How would they interpret your words? I think it's really cool.
Yeah. Awesome. Very cool. The other little AI gadget, and then I've got my fellow WSI colleague here, Mikey G, coming to us from Canada, joining us, AKA the Angry Ops Guy. And we're going to talk about that story here in a little bit. But I want to share with you another little AI gadget that I am absolutely in love with. And I think this is a tool that you guys would like as well. They make 2 versions of this. This is the Plod. It's called a Plod Note. I do have an affiliate link if you want to support me and my encouragement. It's a bit.ly link. It's just bit.ly. Love my Plod. But you don't have to do that. But I think I have to disclose that under FCC guidelines if I receive any sort of compensation. And it's not much, and I'm not retiring off it, but I do love it and I use it all the time. But the way that device works, and they have a pendant as well that they're now selling, is when I go to a conference, I now am recording my conversations, my presentations. Plus, I'm also recording any of the presentations. You can see when I was at the IFA, I've got a recording here, and James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, was one of the keynote sessions on Monday that kicked the conference off. And as luck would have it, Atomic Habits is the book that we reviewed for the Bankers Book Club with Allison, Fred, Jack, and myself. So I thought it was kind of serendipitous that I was there. So I recorded his session. And so what happens is it records the audio, and then it uses a GPT transcriber. And you can tell it, is it a panel discussion? Is it a lecture? Is it a conversation? Is it a proposal? And it uses a custom GPT to analyze that transcript. And then it generates your notes for you. And you put in some information here. You can listen to the audio. You can look at a mind map of everything that it was actually. So as we continue to kind of scroll out here, you can see it did a mind map of his presentation. It's absolutely mind-blowing how all of this information basically comes back in probably about 10 minutes after it does its download. And so now what I'm doing is a couple of my presentations that I have done. I did one on building trust and leveraging LinkedIn as a personal brand. Not a surprise. I talk about that a lot, but I grabbed some information from that. It divides it up into chapters. I did a keynote on AI and banking. I'm taking this as the basis and bringing it into an AI model and going to be using this to help generate content for our website to be able to share out to my banker friends. I'm not going to give this exact detail because this is what KBA hired me to go present for them. So that wouldn't be fair to the Kansas bankers, but I can use what I talked about as inspiration to be able to share that with others through our blog and through social media and whatnot. So it's an amazing tool. It allows for you, again, I like to think I want to be efficient, not lazy. That's kind of the reason why I don't really like to read. If I can drive and listen at the same time with 11 labs, I can do that. This gives me the ability to take that, and I'm still jotting some notes because I still like the pen to paper feel. But most of the time, that Plod Note is doing the yeoman's work of capturing thoughts and ideas and helping me remember going way, way back. I had a friend of mine that taught also at the Pacific Coast Banking School last fall, and we had a really, really good presentation from somebody that was from Google, like way up there. And he reached out recently and said, "Hey, do you still have the audio for that?" Sure enough, popped into Plod, boom, here you go. Got it to him, not a problem. And I don't feel bad sharing it because he was there. I'm very careful about making sure that the information that I share isn't just being blasted out because I don't want to be seen as that guy that pirates all the information from the events that he gets to attend. But strong recommendation for the Plod Note. Big, big fan on how it works. Very, very happy with it. So, and I realized I was talking about it and I don't know as if I was actually showing it. Was I showing it? Did you guys see that? I don't know. Were you guys seeing this when I was talking about it? I got so excited to talk about it. I was diving in and telling you about it, and I realized I didn't click the right button. So rewind what I just said. But here's the atomic habits. Here's my KBA. Here's that mind map that I was talking about that has all the thought processes. So that now makes a whole lot more sense. I'm like, why aren't their eyeballs going up? Like, wow, this is really cool. And that's why, because I forgot to click share my screen. So this technology thing, one of these days, I'll get a handle on it. So anyway, so there you go. All right. Let's see. In the last 15 minutes, I do want to spend a little bit of time and introduce my good buddy. And we promised to keep this PG, but if you took a look at our Skype conversations, we are indeed 12-year-old boys. It is the case. But I've had the pleasure of knowing Mike for a vast majority of my 18 years as part of the WSI network. He runs an agency up in Canada. I love going to conferences and spending time with him and others on the WSI family. But I wanted him to come and share his journey over the last couple of months after we were in Cancun. He has actually built out what I think is an awesome internally focused podcast for the WSI community. And I kind of joked, I don't know if it was like an amalgamation of the name, but we kind of settled on, you're kind of like the angry ops guy. You're just like always pissed off and angry and complaining, which is not the case because he's deep down inside just a big old pussycat. But he's got this hard outside shell like a Tootsie Roll Tootsie Pop. And he's created this awesome podcast with another gal, Christina from CIPR. And they ramble and riff about stuff that operations people normally just think only happens to them. And it's I think, an amazing way that the WSI community has been able to relate on a level where some of these things maybe aren't necessarily things that clients would necessarily want to know that we're thinking of, but it gives us a safe space to be able to experience that conversation together and go, I'm glad I'm not the only one. And Martha, I'm sure you and I, running agencies and whatnot, there's probably an angry ops guy inside of both of us and stuff that we do as well. Although it would be the angry ops girl. Although I don't know as if I could ever imagine you angry, to be honest. Maybe that's a wrong example to give. But Mike, after I've spent all this time talking about you, anything that I've said you want to defend yourself on or add to, or you're just going to say, yep, that's it. Okay, we're done. And just continue to live that angry ops guy persona?
Well, first off, what's up, big man? Nice to see your beautiful ass. PG, right?
Started already.
Sorry, guys. No, first off, thank you for having me. No, that's a wonderful intro, and that goes to show you when you send a Canadian check over the border to the U.S., people will say whatever you tell them to say about you. So,
absolutely. That's
but
how
no,
it works.
he is right. I have had the honest pleasure of knowing Eric. I've been with WSI for 16 years now, and I have known him since I was a kid. And it's funny, we reflected when we only get a chance to see each other maybe once a year in person. Sadly, it's just the way business goes. But
yeah.
He said to me when we saw each other in September, he's like, "You're like my little bro." And I'm like, "You're like my big bro." And that's kind of how me and Eric have been for 15, 16 years. He is one of the first people that was kind to give me an inkling of respect and attention when I was green as you know what. So it's funny how we get here after all that time, Eric. So again, just thank you for having me. And I'm an ops guy, but clearly I don't know how to join a live stream because I'm sitting there watching you guys, and Eric's talking about taking us ship or shit or whatever else. And he's like, "Are you going to join?" And I'm like, "I have joined." So I'm clearly.
You were just at the Kmart YouTube channel watching the commercial. I know that was the case. So
no, but that's the Angry Ops Guy is a podcast tailored around, and actually just to let you guys know, it's actually a credit to Eric. I'm known to be a little crass and sarcastic, and I use humor as a way to make people laugh. And I said something very unprofessional with friends, and he's like, "You need to start a podcast, and because you're the Angry Ops Guy." And I took it, and here we are. So I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for Mr. C.
Well, there you go. I didn't expect that, but thank you. So,
and you're not getting a monetary compensation out of it either.
I'm waiting for those commission checks to show up once you start advertising and generating some ad dollars. So talk a little bit about the function of the show, because I know that this is the LinkedBanker Happy Hour, and I'm not saying that we need to generate a podcast that talks about complaining about our customers, but there's things that happen inside of a bank. And I've actually heard of banks. I know one bank way back in the day, they actually created a private Snapchat channel for their tellers that were able to go ahead and they could snap each other. And it allowed for tellers at different branches that only see each other once a year at the Christmas party to get to know each other better. And then when they got together for those in-person events, they all felt like they knew each other. Yeah. And so whether this could be something that you could bring to an intranet, if it could be some sort of a Slack channel or a Teams group, but some way with appropriateness that you can try to figure out a way to have some fun and to be able to encourage your employees to get together and share things that help them relate on a more personal, not necessarily professional level. And I've seen the chatter that's happened inside of our Work Vivo platform, and Mike's going out to Suno and Udio and recording music and songs and really leaning into this. And I think it's bringing some people together. And I think that is a lesson, leveraging technology and AI. And, I don't know if you want to talk about what you guys are doing as far as the production of those podcasts go, but I suspect doing a podcast today with AI and technology way, way easier than doing it 2 or 3 years ago and having to figure out how to do all that stuff. So anything as far as your journey or lessons or topics that you've talked about that have resonated more that you want to unpack a little bit for us when we're getting ready to close the show? We'll let you kind of be the last voice of reason here.
Sure. Thank you, Eric. And I want to obviously make sure it's applicable to you guys because, like I said, my medium is a little bit different, tailored to digital marketers in WSI. But exactly what Eric said is once you stop laughing about, is Eric making fun of me or should we actually do this? It was like, why don't we build something for us, the network, our people that is relatable? Because podcasts always talk at you. And they're like, you need to do this and you should do that and whatever. But the best podcast that I enjoy is the conversations between people and whatever the subject matter is. Like even watching you guys here, respectfully, I know nothing about banking other than what Eric's taught me when he talks to me. But listening to you guys talk, you have so many stories and ideas and different things. And to the point, like, Eric's a stage person, but you got to wait for Eric to get on the stage, or you wait for Eric to drop something and just wait to, be in his living room. So we wanted to do something for, again, the theme was around how to create therapy for the people that are in the business. And the ops people in digital marketing are the people that are always behind the scenes and don't get any respect and any, praise and whatever else. So it's not about saying like, hey, you have a voice now, but saying like, we're going to talk about the things that really happen in the day to day, not the success stories. If you sell this, you'll make Y. Anybody can talk about that, but let's talk about when things go bad. Let's talk about practical things versus theory things that anybody in the business, whether it's, I'm trying to relate it to you guys, a bank teller right up into a CFO or something, will be like, I've been through that. And maybe it's a smile that's saying, well, somebody else knows my pain. And that's the biggest response I've had so far in this small initiative, is people saying, what you're talking about and what you're sharing is my life. And I'm just glad somebody else is dealing with the pain like I am, because we're all dealing with stress and frustration and pains. But can we produce it in a content or a medium around the industry, around the subject matters that are relatable to everybody, from a C-class executive right to somebody who got hired yesterday, as a resource, as therapy, as a learning tool? And then the humor part, because let's have fun with it. Let's, Eric will tell you, I am probably the most self-deprecating, lowest self-worth person in the world. But I've learned as I've grown up to use it to make people laugh, because if I'm going to make fun of myself, then somebody else won't. But let's make people laugh. So let's talk about the horror stories that Mike went through, because the lesson is not, well, Mike, you're an idiot. It's maybe what Mike's reflection or Mike's revelation out of that pain now allows me not to have to go through that. And that's how I feel for my WSI network, that I feel strongly about, and even the public that chooses to follow this. That's how I can give back, because how do we grow? And I'll tie it back to Eric. I've watched Eric on stage for a lot of my life in WSI. I've learned through his lens of what he shares. So how do I get my voice and my 20 years experience out to the next generation, like Eric and many other people that have more tenure than me chose to give me when I was that green kid writing feverish amounts of notes before AI technology was there. So I think
now he's got applaud.
Yeah, and now he's talking about, like, let's just put that in the middle of the room, and here we go. So again, I think you need to make relatability back to you guys and the LinkedIn Banker is, there's a subject matter in everything, and there's an audience with everything. Eric's got one here. And so tie into the themes, examples, life stories, and how does it relate back to being practical resources and therapy and advice to the people that want to follow and listen to you based on your experience. And, I think that's a wonderful way to give back, and also to keep people more connected than, like Eric said, once a month or once a year, and you get together and you only have an hour with each other, and then you're starving for more. I can be in your living room every Friday in your Spotify, and you get to know me better. And then when you see me on stage, or you see me teaching an education training session or whatever, you feel like you know me versus who the hell is this guy and why is he presenting? So it's really, in closing, I think it just really brings people together, and that's the purpose of making sure. Me and Eric like to say we're in this together, and it's true, because digital marketing or banking or whatever, it's a big black ocean, and it's scary to navigate or try to tread water on your own. But when we do it together, we have a better chance to keep progressing forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said, my friend. And I'm so proud of you, and I love the podcast. Admittedly, it took me a while to get around to listen to some episodes, but now I've got it on a constant download, and it's always there waiting for me. And I love listening to you and Christine dive into stuff and get raw with this. About 95% of the stuff that you talked about, I can pick out 2 or 3 instances in my own world. So Neil shared this link, and I want to pull the graphic up, and I actually remembered to share the screen. So kudos to me.
Yeah.
But speaking of like just running around crazy, being busy, this is, I've seen this before, Neil. It's back to 2018.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that quantifies it as an oldie but a goodie, but it's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
Don't have time to see any crazy salesman right now. I got a battle to go fight.
Everybody on this call is trying to introduce some new ideas to a world that's pretty entrenched in the old stuff.
Yeah. I
This
mean,
graphic just brings that out.
I'm not saying bankers are always going into battle with a sword against a machine gun, but we need to figure out, those of us that serve the banking industry, how can, maybe we skip right over the machine gun. Can we do lasers? Maybe lasers on sharks or something like that. And a little homage to Austin Powers. So, but
Eric,
yes.
I know you're wrapping up here in like 2 minutes. And again, thank you for having me. I just want to say, even though you don't like praise, you got a lightning rod going, buddy. And I just want to congratulate you for your IFA 2024 franchise of the year. That's between WSI and this one, dude. Whatever you're on, bottle it and send it up to Canada, because I want some of it.
It's on its way. If I can get it across the border, I don't know. I'm not so sure.
That's okay. We're just going to put a 25% tariff on it, but it'll get here.
That'll be good. I'll just put a little extra money in the kitty for you there. So,
but you're always so giving and so outbound to people. I'm sure everybody here resonates with that. But you deserve all of this credit and recognition, and just so thrilled for you and your agency, and just wanted to close my little part here. Thank you so much for allowing me to be part of your ride.
Cool. Well, and I would say, the people that show up to these happy hours, that come up on stage with me, and now that we've got video and recording and whatnot, I mean, you're all sharing great information as well. I mean, Martha, you wrote a book. I'm sure a lot of what's in that book, as an agency owner, you would love for somebody to hire you to do and monetize, but instead of hoarding it, you're giving it away, and you're sharing that information with others to make them better. And if they don't come back to you, if they don't hire you, if they don't retain your agency, your firm, that's okay. We're all in it to try to make those that we want to touch and influence better. And I think that's the right way to do business, because that's going to attract the right types of customers that end up deciding that they do want to spend money with you. And, but if you go into it with your hand out, expecting something in return, you'll get your hand slapped more times than not. And, the whole concept, I had a chance to meet the new CEO of BNI. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that networking group, founded by Dr. Ivan Meisner, but the whole premise around that, and I was in that when I was in the bank, was, or is, the giver's gain. What can you give to other people? What can you share? What can you ask? How can I help you? And that premise of BNI, which I was in for a number of years, has kind of been one of the foundational elements of how we run our business. And that's why I love teaching and speaking. I love doing these because I get to hang out with other people. Not that I mind hanging out with my golden retrievers, but there's not a lot of other human contact up here in Northern Michigan. So it's good to see friendly faces as well and meet new ones. Stacy, to your point. So thanks for joining us and being part of this for the first time. So
thank you.
Yeah. So we're all in it together, but I appreciate the kind words. They don't fall on deaf ears, and I'm very humbled by it all. So appreciate that. With that, we are at the end. I will say, if any of you banker folks out there are interested, we do have a membership-based community that we do masterminds with other individuals. Next week, our mastermind is going to feature the one and only Lee Wetherington from Jack Henry, formerly Profit Stars, formerly Gold Leaf. I'm going to tell some great stories. Lee, I had a chance to catch up with him when we were in Nebraska, and I just love talking to Lee. The dude is an Encyclopedia Britannica banking information. And so our LinkedBanker members are going to get an opportunity to be one-on-one with him. If you're interested in any of that, just hit me up directly. And that's about as far as a pitch as I'm going to go. But it's a great community that I think provides some good value. And we've got recordings going all the way back to 2020 of other guests that we've had on the show. And our masterminds are pretty cool and other stuff. So reach out to me if you're interested in any of that. But I appreciate you being part of our Valentine's Day edition. I hope you get to spend tomorrow with somebody sweet, whether it's a human or a pet, or like me when I was 3 years old, an imaginary friend whose name was John Hogan. But whoever you get to spend time with, enjoy Valentine's Day. Have a great weekend. Thanks for being part of the happy hours. And we'll see you next month, if not before. So bye for now, everybody. We'll see
Bye,
you later.
everybody.
Hi, everybody.
you.
Thank you, Eric. See you, bud.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you. I can't wait to get your book.
It'll be in the post soon.